Hello and welcome to this session of KVIFF, which is going to be on water. However, we are not going to talk about water in the conventional sense. Today, we have an extraordinary panel of four persons who have done exemplary work in the space of water. We have Sri Vijay Paranspe, who's worked on surface water and especially the Himalayan and Peninsular rivers. We have Dr. Himanshu Kulkarni, who's been advising the Government of India on the groundwater situation. We have also with us Kalpanatai Salunke of Pani Panchayat, which has done some amazing work in drought prone areas of Western Maharashtra. And with us also is Prasad Sevekari, also from Pani Panchayat, who's been a man on the ground and he's been working with the farmers of the drought prone area.
I think one of the things that we need to understand is, as citizens, do we understand what global warming is doing with the water? What is the water crisis which we might face? And what do dams do? What is it that we need to change in our lifestyle, in our food, and maybe in policies to see that we have water tomorrow?
Yeah, I think these are very important questions, and I think each one of the audience must be thinking about these kind of questions. Do we really know the subject of water security well enough to formulate policies, to work upon it as communities, to work upon it as individuals? That's going to be the starting point of our discussions. So welcome again, and I'm really thankful to all the panelists for taking out the time to be here. Let's start this session without much ado. Any discussion on water in India starts with two major questions. One is that the urban water use is disproportionately increasing compared to the population. And the second is that there is a scarcity of agricultural water. But the elephant in the room is the climate change, and that is creating a lot of pressure on the hydrological cycle. So we would like to know from you, what is it that is changing in the surface water in India, especially the Himalayan rivers and the peninsular rivers, with respect to the climate change?
You said elephant in the room. That is correct. People talk about a little gap or a missing link. It's not so. It is the big elephant. The reason why I call it the big elephant is that climate change will be affecting the entire Hindu Kush Himalaya, which has got 54,000 glaciers. And these glaciers are the storehouses or the water towers of India. These hold water which is equivalent to 6 times the annual precipitation in India for 1 year. That's the volume of water that Himalayas hold back in their glaciers and snow and permafrost. Now we know nothing about it. Very few studies. Out of these 54,000, 30 or so, 30,000 are in India or in the Indian Himalaya. Of these, we have studied, surprise, 12. Nepal has studies about 20, which is a nicer surprise because they are a smaller country, but we are doing a good job. Now, what is it that is missing in our debate? What is missing is that the regulation of flows of Brahmaputra, Ganga and the Indus, which are the 3 largest rivers in the country, are being regulated by these mountains and the ice glaciers or snow glaciers. And their ability to regulate these waters is what is keeping the Indo-Gangetic plains and Haryana and Punjab as the food bowl of India. Now, if this full bowl of India wasn't there, we would not be in a position which we are in today, which is very satisfactory as of now, as far as food is concerned. So, what's going to happen? When we talk about climate change, people talk about 1.5 degrees, 1.6 degrees and so on, and practically nobody knows what this 1.5 degrees is. It's compared to what? So 1800, 1850 or so, the average global annual temperatures used to be in the order of 13 point something, 2, 3 or so. So 1.5 from that 13.2 is what we are talking about. So the differences are very marginal if you look at it in terms of degrees. Because we know that temperatures in Pune change from whatever 4 degrees, 6 degrees to 40 degrees. So what's this big deal about 1.5? But this 1.5 is annual global long-term average. That's why it's so important. So if the temperature, global temperature increases by 1.5, then in the Himalaya it increases by 1.8. It is always 3 to 4.4 degrees higher than the average global temperature. The only reason for sort of stating this background is, therefore, the Himalayan glaciers melt faster than the glaciers in the North-South poles and in Europe. Then what's going to happen in the next 20 years is floods. So the Indo-Gangetic plain, Brahmaputra and Indus are all going to have floods in the next 25 years. Not shortage of water, floods. And these floods are going to be during the summer. Summer includes monsoons in the Himalaya. And there are going to be droughts during the next 4 or 5 months. That is the winter season and the early summer period. Now, this changes the entire structure for the next 25 years on our food bowl, which is Punjab, Haryana, Himachal, UP, Himachal, and right down to Bangladesh. So, what happens? The first crop, that is the Kharif, is wiped out due to the floods, because there will be massive floods. And these are in addition to increase in the rainfall plus melting of the glaciers. So, melting is the additional factor. So, instead of being able to control and hold back those waters, which is what is been doing so far, they are going to start releasing waters from these glaciers. And these are 30,000 of them, about which we know nothing. Now, this is the big elephant in the room. And if these start drying up, then about 3 million people who stay just below the snow line, that is the transhumans, Bhutias, Nepalis, northern Nepalis, Garhwalis, Sikkimis, and so on and so forth. These are people who migrate from Tibet to China and so on. These are going to be the most affected, because their bugyals or the grasslands are going to disappear and the springs are going to disappear. Because if you have no glacier, then the seepage is low and the springs disappear. And there are close to a few million springs in the Hindu Kush mountains. Of them, several will go. No one has counted, as we said. Very little studies have been done. Those which are there are very sparse and seminal. They are just in their infancy. Anyway, so this impact during the rains is going to be enormous. We are not aware of it as yet. Unfortunately, we have not planned for it. We have also not planned for a backlift from the Bay of Bengal, that is the tails of the Himalaya. The heads of the Himalaya are unknown, tails are unknown because they are all in Bangladesh. And Indian studies don't take you to Bangladesh. Indian studies stop at the Farakka Barrage. And so, the backlift as a consequence of sea level rise, plus the large amount of waters which Himalayan and higher rainfalls will release, is going to flood the entire area. So, a migration of population from West Bengal and Bangladesh into the Indian states, larger elephant. So, we have not one elephant, we have several elephants.
So, Kalpana Tai, what do you think will be the problem now, and what is the situation now in the drought-prone areas?
Climate change is one of the factors contributing towards the agricultural economy in the drought-prone area. Actually, if we study the last 4 decades, the changes have taken place slowly of the climate change effect. There were two distinct seasons, that is Kharif and Rabi, and the rainfall pattern was quite stable and uniform in spite of the fluctuations in the total rainfall during one decade and all that. But during the last couple of decades, what has happened is the total rainfall days have decreased. The intensity of the rainfall is from drizzling to heavy pour in the and the distinct two seasons, Kharif and Rabi, they have merged together, and that has caused a lot of problem. In addition to the changes which have taken place during the last 50 years in the agricultural sector itself. So climate change is one of the factors adding to the problems of this area. There are many other factors. Actually, as Pradeep Purandare says that जलश जलक्षेत्र हा अज्ञानाचा प्रदेश आहे. There are so many factors contributing towards the whole water sector that we have to think in totality. And of course, climate change is a major factor, but climate change is the result of something which is happening at the global level. And as I said, that along with the climate change, there are many factors which are affecting the rural economy and agricultural sector.
Kalpana Tai, you had mentioned that climate change has influenced the rainfall patterns to the extent that the Kharif and Rabi seasons have merged. Can you explain exactly what that means for the farmers as well as for the food output of this country?
Actually, in Maharashtra, the monsoon used to arrive in June, and June, July, August till mid-September was the Kharif season where short-term crops were sown. And then after September, there was some gap for the cultivation and this thing. And then the Rabi season was from September to February end, or March, middle of March. Now what has happened? The monsoons are always delayed. This year they are predicting early monsoon, but there is lot of fluctuation. August used to receive good rains. Now there are long dry spell in between, and when the rain comes, it is a downpour. So again, when the crop are in the primary stage, they were affected. So like this, there is no assured pattern of rainfall. Though the total rainfall average 10 to 15% plus minus changes are there, but the nature of rainfall is changed. Then the timing of, previously all the farmers used to sow on certain nakshatra and harvest on certain this thing. The harvest at the time of harvest now, sometimes there are heavy rains as we read in the paper. So again the harvest is affected. So this is all affecting the whole cycle. That is how, in spite of the average rain remaining more or less same, the pattern of rainfall is changed.
I'll just supplement what she has very rightly pointed out. I mean, the seasonality, the agricultural seasonality, the way in which the farmers perceive the rainfall or rainfall pattern has remained the same despite the variations that have been brought in by the changing climate. I won't call it climate change right away, but these are the variations in climate. And we, as of now, at the local level, even at the pan-India level, as Vijay sir has said, we know hardly anything, 12 out of 30,000 maybe. But even at the local level, we haven't been able to inform the farmers about the arrival of the monsoon, about the frequency of the precipitation or the intensity of the precipitation in the right way, which would help them in changing or altering their sowing pattern, their agricultural practices altogether. That is a big problem I see over here.